Okay. So now it's, I think it's April 18th. I was listening to the province. Apparently they've bordered everybody in their healthcare regions. You can't leave your healthcare region. They got cops running around out there with spot checks in between districts. They're gonna start fining people for leaving their district, people. They want to do that for 5 weeks as they keep pushing these inoculations. Okay? This really smells like black walnut husk. I know this smell. Yeah. So anyway, this you can see what I've done. Right, it's outside. Here's my stairs. I don't feel like running a cord over there right now. I'm just doing it right here. So you get it simmering, right? Just remember, if it starts to boil, it's going to boil up fast. So pay attention to that. Alright, I'm just heating it up right now. It's going to start boiling soon, and then turn it down and simmer it. And do you see how much water is in that pot? I'm going to simmer it down, probably about another inch anyway. Right? And then after the fact, I don't even think I'm going to strain it. I'm just going to put it in a jar with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, because you need the alcohol in order to cut back on the natural mold that will grow on top because of the black walnut husk, right? You could use vodka if you wanted to, but hold on. Okay, so with this video, I'm going to show you how to make spinets. That's pig's feet and jelly, which I like, right? I'm Ukrainian, so I like it. I make it for Amari because Amari likes it. And it's good for Amari, people, because of that meat gelatin, right? This makes really good meat jelly. Hold on. Okay, so I bought these a while ago. They were frozen when I bought them, and I asked the butcher at Nestor's to cut them for me, and he did. I just haven't had time to vacuum seal them yet. Right, so they've been kind of like sitting in my freezer. But now I'm going to do it now. Before they get, I don't want them to get freezer burnt, right? No. Food is expensive. It's getting more and more expensive. Some things you can't find anymore, right? Which is really, sign of the times. So anyway, listening to these politicians, it's not good, people. Right? The rubber's gonna meet the road pretty soon. I don't know. Right? I think we're in trouble. But I'm going down swinging, people. Yeah, I didn't come this far to end up dead on my pillow. Without a fight, that is. Okay? I've been through too much to let that happen. So, I'm just trying to stick with the format as best as I can. Right? About that much. I don't need to make a lot at a time. Plus, I can freeze some after I make it too, right? So, this bag, I'll just do like this, right? And then, I'll get a few bags anyway. Alright. Like the good old days. I sure miss the good old days. See? It's that simple. Look how nice that is. Right. So I'm going to do those. Hold on a minute. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sizes. 6. Okay, so this is what I'm going to cook up to make studnats. I'll show you how to do that. First, I'm going to take this downstairs to the freezer. Hold on. Okay, so I have a bit of a headache today. Just tired, people working here every day, all the time, something. Right, I decided to cook today and put that stuff in the vacuum sealer bag. Alright, which you just seen me do. And I guess I'll go outside tomorrow. So anyway, listening to this government yakety yak on my end, I think they're trying to stop people from having rallies. That's why they're bringing in this, you can't cross over from Fraser Health Authority to, you know, fucking Island Health Authority to this authority. They're doing it through health authorities, right? Because they don't want people from Surrey going to Vancouver or wherever, right? Wherever people come from going into Vancouver up by the, what is it? The art center. Right, so they're gonna stop them before they even get here. Yeah, we need 100,000 people at these rallies. We really do, if not more. A Fasaki can bring in 500,000 people. Seriously. That's what it's gonna take. 1 million people. Alright. Or it's going to go into civil war, people. I think so. For some, not for the sheep. Not for the ones that are willing to have their bodies altered like Ciera over a period of time where you don't really notice it. And then when you do notice it, you end up blaming the victim for it. Right? As if Ciera created all those health problems all those years. She did it to herself. Well, we know she didn't do it to herself, people. Okay? The drugs that they've got out on the streets with this fentanyl, manufactured fucking fentanyl, okay? Manufactured with a chemist. It was changing her body. It was changing her blood. She was bleeding out. Like some of these people that are dying are bleeding out before they're dying. You know, having diarrhea with blood all of a sudden after the fact of receiving their analog. You know, being constipated 1 minute, having diarrhea the next minute, bleeding from their ass. Right? Things that, like, Ciera was going through. Well, blood pooling in the gut. Same kind of shit. Swelling of the whole body, just swelling up. She'd come here, look like a freaking balloon. Why? Why, people? As the hospital saying, well, we don't know. We don't know what's wrong with you, Ciera. We'll just give you another blood transfusion. Stupid shit, people. So, anyway, I'm waiting for my sentence. I guess you could say this is going up on YouTube, so it's not like I can talk freely, right? So, I put in 5 cloves of garlic in with those little pig's feet that I have. I don't have that many in there, so I'm going to end up boiling down. I probably got too much water in there, actually. So maybe what I should do is take some out, or I'll just simmer it right down, right? I'm going to take a little out. Just hold on a minute. And then I'm going to simmer this down, bring it up to a boil, and then simmer it down. I'm going to throw in just those for now. And then the rosemary, that's the key, people. Oh, it makes it taste so, so good. You put it in one of these things. Right. And this stuff freezes really well. Like, really well. And when you unthaw it, oh, it's so tasty. It retains its jelly, everything, right? So I basically filled that up. I like this taste. It's good, right? And then you add in a little bit of salt. And you just simmer it down. And then after that, you cool it. You know, pick the meat apart. I like to suck on the bones. For Mari, obviously, I don't have bones in his. But you can have bones in it as you're gelling it, right? You don't have to take all the bones out. Just spread everything around. But for Amari, obviously, I take out the bones, right? And then I use my little jars. And I freeze. And then when I want to give to him, I just unthaw it in the fridge, and he really likes it. I need to give it more to him. That's why when I found them, I bought them. Because you can't always find them, and because I don't get out that much. You know, I don't get to go to too many grocery stores with selection. You know, it's hard for me to find these things sometimes. But when I found them, like I said, I just asked the butcher to cut them up for me. And he did, and it worked out really good. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with this. I don't really have much to say. I have actually a whole lot to say, but I can't really say what I want to say. Because, you know, it's a cancel out society, right? They'll just cancel me out. They're going to cancel me out eventually anyway, people. We're in a bad time. A very, 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 very bad time. I know some people that don't want to take this analog either. I don't know how they're going to handle it when these do-gooders come knocking on the door. I went into a reporting system. I guess it was for the UK. And they don't allow people, well, I suppose people can write and, you know, their comments, and then it goes to an internal auditing system. But they don't show who got the adverse effects or what kind, in terms of, oh, my mom, you know, she went and got so-and-so shot, and 24 hours, you know, I found her laying on the bathroom floor dead. You don't get to read any of that from the UK like you can with that one in the United States. Although the one in the United States has now been hijacked, and people are exposing how they're just giving the general public old information and no new information because it's been shadow banned, right? Because that's not the narrative, right, people? But you see, that's why I printed out what I printed out, because there's no disputing the facts, right? So when they come knocking on my door, I'll just tell them I'm not ready to die yet. No, you know, not that way anyway. Right? If I'm going to die, I will die in a more natural way. Right? Now, mind you, I've got energy weapons going through my yard. I really should do a follow-up on that, just to remind people as to what they actually look like and how they're being deployed in the neighborhood without you really realizing that they're in your house and in your yard. And now that they've got people 6 feet apart, it's very easy to direct these energy weapons towards individuals without them realizing it. I have it documented, people. I have it documented with Julian in the basement when he was raging and going crazy. It went right over his shoulder. I have it documented with me out in the front, working in the yard, with it scooting past me, right? Went through a bucket, went behind a tarp, sat there for a few 30 seconds or whatever it was, and then took off and scooted, literally scooted through the grass. So energy weapons do exist. And that one that went through the front was controlled through a joystick. And there's a certain name for it. And also, too, because I was facing this way, along my house, there was a reflection of sun. Something was reflecting back, right? Because they use a reflection somehow to control it, right, with a joystick. So it was somebody across the street in one of those buildings out there that had that energy weapon directed at my house. And then I've got this bullet thing. I call it the energy bullet. In the back with the raccoon. The camera actually picks it up. Poof. And you can see it fly by. Very slow. Like you can put on a slow speed, right? And it's somewhat invisible. Because it's like misty, right? So, if people are getting sick, we're going crazy. Well, some of it's being instigated, in my opinion, with energy weapons. Because I have it documented. So, it's enough I have to deal with that. With the pressure in my head, the constant ringing in my ears, you know, my eyesight going on me, right? Being overworked, basically. Not that I'm complaining. I can still do it, right? And being nitpicked. Because you can't live up to these types of individuals that do this kind of stuff. Been through it too many times already, people. It's just all over again. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. So, there. See, that's all you do. Nothing. It's nothing serious with this stuff, but it's so good. And then a little bit of salt.
Oh, well?
Yeah, I'm going to put in about a teaspoon or so.
Okay.
And then when the meat cooks, you're going to get a little bit of the release of the blood, right? That scum on top. You can take it off just with a spoon. I probably should have did that first before I threw in the garlic. So, basically what I'm going to do now is I got this little pot roast, pork pot roast, that I took out a couple days ago. So, it was frozen in a vacuum seal bag, so it'll be fine. So I'm going to now brown it, right? Put garlic on the inside, pieces of garlic on the inside. Season it, flour it, and then I'm going to brown it.
Excuse me?
And then I'm going to put it in the oven.
I need that.
Right, and start cooking that with some squash later. I'm making potato salad too.
Or beet.
Yeah, I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning, people. I fell asleep on the couch. I was going to just rest for a few minutes.
Trust me. She fell asleep all day yesterday. she didn't. I tried to like her up, but she didn't. Cause
It wasn't yesterday. It was like around 9 o'clock or something. I'm like,
it was yesterday, no?
yeah, yesterday, but it was like 9 o'clock or...
So why did you say it wasn't yesterday?
I told you to go to bed. Anyway, I said, go to bed. And I had my computer on and I'm listening, right? I just thought, oh, I'll just lay there. And I was listening to something, right? And he comes out in there and I'm like, go to bed, right? It's time for bed. So he goes off to bed and I'm laying there listening to whatever that was going on in there. By the time I woke up after listening to falling asleep,
It was 2 o'clock in the morning.
I got up at 2 in the morning. And it's now 5 in the afternoon. So how many hours have I been up for? I wonder why I'm tired, right? So I started boiling potatoes at 8 o'clock, 7:30 this morning. And beets. Alright, I'm going to shred them, put some in jars for Amari and freeze them. And maybe make a little beet salad with my potato salad and my little pork roast and give some to my son. That's what I'm going to do. Hold on. Okay, so here's a question for you. Do you honestly think that people who facilitate illegal organ harvesting and the harvesting of teeth for those robotoids that they're making now, not robots, but robotoids / human hybrid, do you honestly think that they're nice people? Well, nice individuals. No. Because it's happening. People are gullible, though. They'll believe anything anybody tells them. Tells them, you know, oh no, it's not happening. We're government. We'll tell you that it's not. You can believe us. Yeah, okay. That's why there's like people dropping off left, right, and center with no fact checks, right? Just having their belongings thrown out into dumpster bins. Treated like they were junkies, right? Throw away. Cancel society. I guess whoever owned that stuff was just canceled out, right? Just disappeared off the planet of the earth. No questions asked. Right? Deserved what they got, which was obviously nothing. Right? People are so blind. So many people are so blind. They don't have a clue. And when you try and tell them, they don't want to listen. Some of them are involved. Right? But they're not going to tell you because it's illegal what they do. But they'll tell you that they're nice individuals. Nice individuals, my ass. I think we're going to see a lot of misery over the next 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know if I'll be alive in 20 years. I'd be 80 years old. It'd be amazing if I made it that long, but at the rate things are going, I highly doubt it. I'm 60. Alright? If I end up in a hospital, that's it. You won't see me anymore. They won't let me out. Right? And you know I'm going to fight. That's just the way it's going to be, people. I've seen too much bullshit go on in those places to not fucking fight. That's the problem. People got the wool over their eyes. They don't want to see it.
What's that?
Seasoning salt.
Okay,
I'm doing a video. Wait till he calls you.
He said he'll call me?
Well, I don't know. He said an hour.
How was the hour?
It's been almost an hour.
Okay, well, I'll wait for another 50 minutes.
He wants to play a computer game.
Which is a very fun one.
Yeah.
Marcade is
Okay, hold on. Okay, so Here's some lard that I made quite a while ago. I got another jar in there. Anyway, that's what I'm going to use to brown this with. Right. Now this thing, it had a little netting on it, so I would suspect it's going to open up, because I took the net off because I want to flour it, right? But that's okay. The roasting pan I'm using isn't very big, so I'll figure it out. I'm going to put some squash in there too. So, oh, here's some Worcestershire sauce, a little bit. Right. That's how I'm going to do this. Just put some Worcestershire sauce on that. Right. And then I like to take my cloves of garlic and actually poke them right into the meat. So I cut a little hole and I just cut into the meat, and then I push that down into the meat so it gets spread out and it cooks right into the meat. Right. I do about, I don't know, for this size here, 5 or 6. One more. That's good enough. Right. Cooking isn't as enjoyable for me as it used to be. There's always panic attacks. Stupid panic attacks. Right. Waiting for doomsday. Yeah, that's about it. Just waiting for doomsday. At the hands of you-know-who. Right. Still waiting for the government to come knocking on my door. See what they have to say. I'm sure they'll call me frivolous, scandalous, and fictitious. But, like I said, if it was their daughters and Uncle John, they'd be upset too. But I don't think they have feelings. I don't. There's something wrong with them. Something's happened to them along the way. Right? So I'm just giving it a little extra sprinkle of this spice. Put it in some flour. I got my lard heating up. It would help if I turned on the stove. See? See? Take this. Now I'm going to flour it, and then I'm going to fry it on all the sides. Brown it. And then I'm going to put it in the oven with just a little bit of, what is that called? Water. Throw the rest of the garlic in there. I'll probably cut up some ginger, put it at the bottom of the pan as well. I like to take the flour and put it in the seams. Right, because then you get, just that, I don't know. It just cooks nice that way. Right. Doing stuff like this reminds me of when I had my family when they were young. I miss my family when life was better and we were all around. Yep. But they're loosh harvesting. That's why they're fucking everybody's heads up. That's how they do it. Alright. Sooner or later, though, something's gonna change. Yep. Enough of us will die. That's what will happen. There'll be so many of us dying who previously spoke out about our deaths before they even happened, people. Okay. In terms of why we died, we already know why we're gonna die. At the rate that we're going. Because lots are, with no voice, as the government's trying to cover it up. Like their dirty secret, business as usual. They sure have a lot of dirty fucking secrets, don't they? Hey? And Uncle John, ShaMay, and Ciera leading the pack. So you can see, it's been browned, right? And then I probably putting in this squash a little too soon, but whatever. I put a little bit of brown sugar on it. Alright, not too worried about margarine right now, or butter. I don't know. I have margarine, but I normally use butter. My butter's in my freezer right now, so that's fine. This will be fine. And you put your lid on, you put it in the oven, you cook it. And then, as you can see what's going on there, right, just cook it for... I'm going to have to bring this down more, though, because I don't have enough meat in there. But if I bring it down another inch, then it will be enough. You'll see. Okay, so yeah, basically, Dr. Death, Dr. God, Dr. You-know-who-ish, whatever she is to you, right? What's going on today about a 2-year-old apparently died from, right, some child that was special needs. Right, had health issues, was connected to the children's hospital. First case. So, playing on people's sympathies, right? Well, we've got other people asking the government to show the documentation as to what it is exactly that they're saying is floating around in the community. Right, in terms of physical evidence. Which has yet to materialize yet outside of a bunch of words on YouTube. Right? And people taking advantage of their positions of government. Which is quite common in the province of British Columbia, Canada. So, I'm just wondering where that's going to lead. Right? You know, with their loosh harvesting.
I'm getting it.
Yeah, just watch, another one's coming.
No, that one's going that way.
Well, every time you see a truck.
Here, I'm gonna go on there. Here, I know how to get them better. Oh. I already got it. There.
Turn on!
I already did. Oh.
Start recording.
What? Why is it stopping? Okay. Good, now it's moving. Keep on going. Yeah, I'm getting you. I'm getting you. Go. Okay. Go fast. Go, 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 go. There you go. Okay, I better get back to my site. I've got you up there. Hey. Come on. I can still get it because it's stopping.
What's that?
Said I can still get it because it's stopping.
No, just when it goes by, Andre.
Oh, just one. I see wood.
They're digging out another hole. That's where all that dirt's coming from. It's the second hole. They're probably putting in 2 high-rises.
Yeah, I see a pile of dirt there.
Yeah. And then they're going to come in after the fact with their big-ass gravel trucks.
Oh, I'm seeing this. Oh. Don't worry now, I got this, okay? Hey, Willie. Willie the garden cat. Willie. Oh, it's a good little Willie. One's coming out now. Oh no, he's wearing the thing. That's why. Okay, that's right. Keep on moving. Keep on moving. Okay, got it.
What's going on?
Done.
What is that, Marty? Oh, Marty, the water? Yeah?
You tricked him.
Is that, Marty? There it is.
Okay, turn this off now.
Okay, so I'm going to finish that video that I've been working on. This video. Do you see that? That's that pork's feet. I should have washed them, people. I don't know who keeps doing this, but I am going to take my blessing and take one of those and put it right here to prevent the rocks from going in there, because I don't want the mailman or anybody else to twist their ankle I keep telling Andre, stop throwing rocks around. He just runs on it and they bump, right? So anyway, I just wanted to show you this. Okay, this is what I've got so far. Ooh, today it's chilly. It's cold outside. 9 o'clock and it's already cold. So as you can see, it's looking pretty good, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a post with a 2x4. Probably about, oh, I don't know, maybe 5 feet. 5 feet. Yeah, about as high as me. Put one here. And I may, it depends, put one over there and probably put one here because these things get tall, right? And I'm going to try and just, I don't know. I'm not sure about running one here. These plants, they don't fall this way. They tend to fall this way. And then it just gets really big and bushy and it's really nice. So I just wanted to show you that. So that's done for the most part. I mean, it's not done. Right, and then I'm going to take you inside and show you what I'm doing in there, and I'm going to upload this video. I've come to the conclusion that some people in their yards have fake plants. I think so. I went to the store the other day, I found this on the, and I'm like, it was in the dark, right? And I'm like, is this real? And I'm like trying to bust it, right? And it turns out it's fake. So it was on the road, right? Nobody wanted it. Cars are kind of running over it, getting close to it anyway. And I brought it home and I thought I'd put it in here just for whatever reason. Recycle, right? Repurpose. And it never dies. It always stays green. And for whatever reason, I don't know what happened to my beautiful fern. Andre and I have been commenting. Now this one over here, yeah, maybe I can understand because it had a big rock on it. But this one, I don't know. Like, maybe when it gets to a certain age, it just does this. The plants are like screwed up right now because they don't know if it's winter or if it's summer because the weather has been like summer on many days. So that doesn't even have shoots, although a lot of other things are shooting up too fast because the weather's been too warm. And being that the plum tree bloomed, technically I should be taking burlap, honest to God, this is how farmers do it, and just covering over the tree for a couple of weeks, right? Because you can see the blooms are dying off. But the weather is changing again, and we might very well get a serious cold snap that's going to kill off the fruit that's, right, going to grow from these blooms because it will be too cold. It does that with pear trees, does that with plums, right? So anyway, hold on. So I'm going to finish off this video. I have to clear out. A bit of space on my computer so I can upload these videos onto it and convert it over. Right. So this will give me a reason to do it. So here's that stuff I made long. So we're going to finish off basically with this, okay? The stain. Now I've decided that I'm going to make a few jars of this in the next month or two, and I'm going to let it seep, right? Like you would fine vanilla extract, or you're fermenting something, right? For the course of the year. The secret to having it outside in a jar in the wintertime is just making sure that it's not up to the top. So if the jar should freeze on the inside, right, hopefully it won't crack the jar, right? I mean, most times it won't. Sometimes it can, But if you fill your jar too high, for sure it will, right? So just keep that in mind. I may or may not keep them inside the house. I only have so much room, right? Or in a sheltered area, maybe covered up with a blanket or something to help keep it from freezing inside completely to the point where it cracks the jar. Outside of that, you can store this stuff outside for years and years and years, and it never goes bad, because after you cook it, right, which I've already done, okay, I cooked it for a while, I brought it down a bit. Now I'm not going to strain it, right, because I'm not trying to make ink, okay? I'm just using this as a stain. I think I have a coffee. Hold on a minute. Yeah, I do. I'm tired, people. I walked off to the store yesterday. So, of course, I'm like 60 years old, you know, raising my second family, reminding myself that when I had my first child and whatnot, right, I used to push the buggy to the grocery store and push the buggy back, or I'd carry the grocery store bags home, you know, up the hill, right, and like, you know, I'm having to do this all over again, right, and you know, I'm taking it in stride, people, okay? So one of the things that I did before we get into this black walnut stuff here, one of the things that I did buy, and I buy all the time, anytime I get there, is Tang. Right? Kids really like it. Everybody likes, the majority of people like Tang, and it's good with vitamin C. So, right. I take them out of the boxes, I bag them up. I have a few of these bags around, but before I get into the other bags, I like to keep, this will be gone, and Andre drinks a lot of this. And Mari likes it too. So anyway, I bought those, right? And then, because I am a food prepper, right? If I find something like this on sale, I'll buy, if I got a little extra money, right? And the story behind this little bottle here is, I was just standing there looking around, right? Now you have to remember, I'm in a store full of people with masks on. I'm telling you, I'm starting to think that I need to approach the company management, like owners or whatever, right? And just say, look, it's unfair as to how you treat your workers with enforcing masks on them. Right? I'm more worried for them people than I am for myself, okay? I feel so sorry when I go out in public and I see people everywhere I go, everywhere, up and down the street, walking. I'm pushing a buggy, you know, Andre's with me, Amari's with me. Everybody, like a good 99% of the people, oh, we'll give it 98% of the people are wearing masks. And I just shake my head with it. And, you know, I said to Andre, you're going to see a lot of sickness in the next 10 to 20 years. There's going to be a lot of sick people because of what's going on, okay? There's no way around it, people, right? It's already documented that if you damage your hippocampus, which is the one that takes in the short-term memory, right, and then processes it at night into long-term memory, if you damage that, it creates dementia, okay? It's not just old age getting a little forgetful. What's that word? Oh, yeah, okay. It's not just that. It's much worse than that. It's deeper than that in terms of brain damage. That's just the first thing, right? They're destroying their immune systems, literally, over a period of time. And they've got clouds that cast, like, they all have their own little cloud, you know, where they're like, you can clearly see that if they're not confused, you know, they're depressed, right? They're kind of like off, right? They're not like grounded with the earth, right? And I'm not putting them down. I feel like I have to advocate for them, people, because, you know, I didn't want to drag out this video. I don't know what I did before. Probably be a long video, but whatever. I don't like being YouTube's bitch. Obviously, there's things that I want to talk about, but I can't. So I'm up to debate whether I should put it up on BitChute and take the time to do that. But, you know, to what end? As if it's going to get me anywhere, right? In terms of recycling old news. Or just be that talking point with new news, and then, you know, just never connecting with anybody to push the envelope forward, right? In terms of for change, wherever that change may come from. Okay. I don't want to feel sorry for myself, people, right? I want to be, I want to be somebody with a sense of humor, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Even though we're faced with difficult times, right? I don't want to be a complete downer, but then I also don't want to be an ostrich with my head in the sand. So I have to work around it. All right. So anyway, I went to my, and I'm going to promote them, okay? Because they're a good store, and because they stand beside me, I feel like, honest to God, people, I feel like I need to stand up for them. They stand up for me. When I go in there, they let me shop in their store without a mask, without being harassed, right? You know, right? But at the same time, I feel like their employer is completely exploiting them and putting them at risk, as if they were putting my own family at risk, right? In other words, I feel like they're my human family who is being sacrificed for nothing, because anything that they're doing for me and my family isn't going to make a difference, okay? Through the political pipeline, that is, okay? Now, obviously, what you're starting to hear is me internalizing everything that I've, one, been watching on the internet, two, been reading on the internet, and then having to go out into my community. I'm not even going to say society, but my community, and be faced with the dilemmas that come from different, I don't want to say venues, but different points, right? Walking down the street, everybody's wearing a fucking mask. I'm pushing the buggy with Andre and Amari, and who do I see coming towards me? My own son. It was Andre who recognized him first. And I'm like, Marcane, where's Marcane? And here's Marcane. And I'm like, what the hell are you wearing a mask for walking down the street? Like, how many times have I told you not to wear the mask? That's one point. The other point, you go into a store, obviously through my video, right? We've learned that some stores are more friendly than other stores. Some stores are down and out threatening, like I said, ready to bring out the musket and, you know, run me out of fucking Dallas, when I'm more than willing to spend $50 to $100 or more in the leather store, because I like leather. Just because I walked in with $50 in my pocket with cash that I ended up giving to a homeless person who needed it more than I did, right? If that man would have let me shop in his store, I probably would have walked out buying anywhere from $50 to $150 worth of leather. But obviously he's not suffering because he's been bought off, right? I mean, he can afford to lose $150 in sales. Right? Because he's got the cops not even 2 blocks away, a half a block away, at his beck and call to run customers out of his store because they're not wearing a mask, even though they're compromising and wearing those face shields that make you look and think and feel like you're in a fucking sauna and you can't see shit. So you're bumbling through whatever it is that you're doing as you're looking at these things, okay? And that's the reality of it. So we need to ask ourselves, what are the cops feeling that have to wear this shit? Like, how the hell can they even see through those face shields? Never mind being masked over with whatever it is. Like, I'm starting to think that some of these cops that are dressed up like Darth Vader are fucking robots. And if they're not robots, they're hybrid humans that have been implemented to be part-time robots. Because a human body is not capable to function normally and be rational under high constant cortisol stress. Never mind killing off parts of your brain little by surely through lack of oxygen. Like, what are they breathing in that makes them so strong? Because some of these dudes, like, they look like they came from a freaking movie. Unless, of course, what we're watching on these news clips, wherever they may come from, right, is theatrical. It's staged. Which I wouldn't be surprised. Because it feeds into that fear. For people like me that are, what, 100 and... well, I don't know. I'll just say 100 pounds. 60 years old, you know, right? With coming onset of perhaps brittle bones. And I'm going to have 5 fucking 6'2" muscle men in their super duper, super fucking hero suits, saving the world from God knows what, I don't know, throwing me down on the ground, accusing me of resisting, right? Come on, people. Like, seriously, man. So, anyway, let's stay positive. I mean, obviously, I'm getting into a rant. Because I'm so disturbed, because I feel so helpless, and I feel like I gotta do something more. It's enough that I filed a lawsuit that my government's ignoring me. They're past their 21-day mark, people. So I'm like, okay, well, they're waiting for me to show up, file something, face myself with a judge by myself, and the judge will be like, well, I don't know, nothing's adding up here, and there's not enough information, and, you know, and if you're really that concerned, just go to the Vancouver Police Department, just avoid the Surrey Police Department if you feel that they're so corrupt, you know, you just find another department to help you, but other than that, Miss Charney, fuck off. And I'm like, well, that could happen. That would be the easiest card for the government to play. Being that I've gotten no information in regards to Ciera when it comes to their supposed investigation as to what John Hart fucking did to her or didn't do. I didn't get nothing in writing as to what the coroner report had to say. Nothing, people. So it would be kind of like their suit, right, in terms of playing cards, right? You know, they're going to stay with the suit and just ignore me in court, which provokes me to want to write another lawsuit to bring to attention that there's 3 in a row, that now there's 4 that they need to seriously look at and do something in terms of justice, not justice just for my family, but just, okay, for example, the government came in, oh my Lord, I'm so angry. This is all this shit that I internalize, right? The government came in with their budget, okay? And we're going to get into politics in terms of party versus party and how things change through different parties with their budgets over a period of years. So anyway, they're trying to bring in, build back better, all this other crap, and looking after the people. And so anyway, they came in with their budget, and they invested, I think it's $268 million, if I remember correctly. It was a high number anyway. Indirectly to the most disenfranchised in terms of the general homeless population, or that population where, you know, they're very vulnerable to becoming homeless and then becoming perpetually homeless. Okay? So you're dealing with addiction, mental health, lack of affordable housing, just a number of things, right? So under that budget, $268 million to prop up people like Ciera, okay? All right? Now, it's a little late for Ciera, though. And this is the thing. Because a lot of this money goes into the red tape of running these institutions that are designed to help the homeless people. Okay? I'm not saying that it's not being used to help the homeless people. I'm just saying it goes more to prop up the workers than it does sometimes the homeless people. Okay, so anyway, and what as a complimentary measure, they're trying to decriminalize personal possessions of drugs, regardless of what the drug is. And one, it freezes up the criminal justice system with petty drug charges, right? And two, it supposedly takes away the stigma of doing drugs, even though people have been doing drugs for years and 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 since the beginning of fucking time. Okay? So anyway, you know, that's their spiel, right? We're going to decriminalize personal drugs to take away the stigma so that people will go get help with all these programs that they're building in with their $268 million, we'll just say, right? To alleviate the growing poverty and the needs associated around that poverty, for whatever that may be, in terms of poverty breeds dysfunction. Poverty breeds mayhem. Poverty breeds violence. Poverty breeds allow death to go unnoticed and unaccounted for. Okay? Right? If you're poor and you get murdered, chances of getting justice is slim to none. Whereas if you were somebody with money and got murdered, everybody would be on it like a dirty shirt. Okay? But yet both bodies end up in the same freaking box in the ground. How it works out like that, I don't know, but that's the fact of the way things technically work. And that's why I stand up and say, no, I'm not here to allow you to exploit my family so that you can profit and get all the attention when your time comes and you get snuffed out. Right? You're not the only one worthy of justice. Other people are also worthy of justice. Okay, so let's get back to this little store called Nestor's. I'm bouncing with this, okay? So anyway, I've been going in there quite regularly. I'm usually a big spender. I didn't spend too much yesterday, only $200. Right? Normally it's double, but there's not much that I need. I have some of these, so it wasn't like I needed to buy 8 because I probably got about 8 kicking around the house. I just like to keep my supply handy. So anyway, I'm in the aisle, almost done shopping, and I'm just looking at the last aisle to see if there's anything that I just want to grab and put it into my food storage. And then this young man came up and started chatting with me. All right, and he pointed out a different brand that was half the size for $7. And I'm like, oh, and he said it was very tasty. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but for me, you know, I tend to hoard food, right? I'm a doomsday prepper, and I'm just looking something to keep a steady supply. My grandson likes this kind of stuff. I know my son likes this kind of stuff. I will cook with this once in a while, depending on what I'm doing. So, you know, and I can use it to barter if the economy really crashes and goes into a mini Venezuela. And this is what I told him. I explained to him that, you know, I have vanilla extract at some point in the future if I want, I could barter with, because I did a YouTube moment and went off and made a whole case full of vanilla extract. Some that will mature within 6 months, where others will mature in 2 years. He goes, 2 years, right? And I'm like, yeah, 2 years. The problem was, people, he was wearing a fucking mask. But we were having a conversation right there in the hot sauce aisle, right? With all the pickles and the sweet onions and just that kind of condiment stuff, right? And you know, like, I just felt so bad that, you know, he was required to do that for something that has no end in terms of community justice. right? Because the science is, you know, we're in mad science times, right? Like, I don't want to say Frankenstein science, but mad, right? Like mad, like crazy mad science times. With people getting rich off of it. And then we'll get all the justice. While the ones that are getting hurt off of it get no justice. And going that circle, taking it to those employees at this store, right, that actually make me feel comfortable when I'm there shopping. And the reason I say that is because when I went in yesterday, and here's the joke, when I went in yesterday with the kids, there was a different security guy there. He seen me, he walked up to me, and he says, well, you have to wear your mask. And I'm like, and I don't like to pull that, well, I have a mask exemption card, because first of all, I don't feel I should have to. And don't forget, people, I don't have a doctor anymore. That was the last thing that my doctor prescribed me, which was freedom. But if you notice, I don't have a doctor, because after that, when I wanted to get my records for my daughters, he told me to take him to court to go get them. So I'm in a dilemma, but in the meantime, the women are like, right? Because they can see, right? And I'm like, yeah. I said, listen to the women. I said, if you don't listen to the women, they're coming after you. I said this to him yesterday, because it's true. I don't have to wear a mask, right? And it's not, in other words, I didn't have to pull out and whip out my paper, okay? I didn't have to prove it, because the women were there already standing up for me. They were standing up for me, people, and my grandkids. What about me standing up for them? And that's the point of this little rant, okay? I'm thinking, well, gee, Judy, you're not getting very far with this lawsuit. And it's really, you know, not about that. It is kind of now, because the government brought it to that, in terms of gang stalking and all this other shit that the government's been doing that's listed in that lawsuit, and is replicating itself now onto millions of people across the country. Okay, the poorer you are, the worse it becomes. You know, the easier it is to box you into that manufactured poverty. So anyway, I'm thinking, you know, at some point when I'm at my computer, right, I really should, people. And I would recommend other people to do this if they can do it, right? Not everybody can sit and write and type, but if you can, and you can take a couple of hours of your time, you know, I think we need to start advocating on behalf of these workers who are sacrificing basically their lives for no answers, right? For no answers, that there are no guarantees. There is no crystal ball outside of what the government has planned for us, right? And that it's not that I find it intimidating that they're wearing masks. It's the fact that I'm feeling mournful for their health, safety, peace, and liberty, and freedoms to be themselves. Okay? That's what I would write it on. In other words, would it provoke change? Obviously not. I'm just one voice. But in light of them coming out of the aisles, oh, no, leave her alone, I feel like I should be standing up for them, right? Because they're a great crew in there, and they don't deserve to be mistreated, and they are, and the company needs to be reminded that they're mistreating their employees, right? Only you have to write it in a nice kind of way. And it is true when I say I feel mournful, like I feel sorrow for them. Just like I felt sorrow when I went into the New Westminster courthouse. It was more than being mournful. It was sorrowful, right? And it boils down to that loosh harvesting that we're currently under in terms of a satanic governance. Because we can't call it a satanic government when it's governance among governments, right? Governance, that's like to govern something. A government is the core individuals that practice governance, okay? And those people are being mistreated under satanic governance. And I would probably write it along those lines to make myself clear that I don't appreciate, I wouldn't call the employees to be of an occult, but perhaps maybe the company is in line and in partnership with an occult, to which is detrimental to society as a whole. So, okay, so now that I've got that off my chest, right, they gave me one for Amari to color. And this is a little Mother's Day thing. They just do a random draw for the kids. So we're going to try and I'll do a little video on that when he's in his wheelchair. And I'll give him a crayon and see if he can figure it out, right? I'll give him some practice tries. I haven't done that yet, people, because, you know, there's only so much time in a day. But that gets me motivated on that, right? And then in terms of this, finish off the thought with the cash infusion of $268 million, basically into dealing with the housing crisis for the most disenfranchised, and, you know, do those wraparound mental health programs and feeding programs and shelter programs and anything and everything to try and get homeless people off the streets and, you know, into a routine, I guess, where you can say they're somewhat functional. And the reason I say that is because I do know of one individual that works in one of those types of facilities, and I asked her, I said, well, what do you basically do? She says, oh, well, you know, we just monitor and keep an eye on everybody and blah, blah, blah. You know, we feed them whatever, you know, once, 3 times a day or whatever they do, right? And then they I guess they have, you know, they just make sure nobody overdoses and dies. And I'm like, okay. Right, because they're all drug addicts, right? And then I think about that little house that I had. And I don't know, people. You know, there's a fine line between capitalism, I guess you could say, and socialism. If you give a person an inch, they go for the mile. But on the other hand, if you don't give them that inch, they can be lured to their death. Okay? Whatever this government is doing, like I said, is too late, because Ciera fell through the cracks and was lured to her death. And in terms of, and this is the point, and in terms of decriminalizing personal drug possession, regardless of what that drug is, it was already in effect. Because there was a time, I mentioned it on one of my videos in the past, where I was hearing noises, right? I went out into the back, into the alley, and there was this little Chinese cop. He had his car over there. He was just some short little fuck, right? And he was pulling and wrestling on Ciera in the back alley. Like literally pulling on her and wrestling with her. And she's like, oh, leave me alone. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? He goes, oh, well, somebody phoned and complained that she was in the alley. I said, well, that's my daughter. You know, leave her alone. He goes, oh, so she's allowed to be back here. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's my daughter. So he let her go. And as he was walking this way, he showed me a little baggie that he said that he got off her. And he was going to go test it for fentanyl. So he went off to his car. I dealt with Ciera. He came back. He told me it had fentanyl in it. And then he walked off with the baggie. Okay? There you go. It was already in effect, people. Fuck. The house next door was a drug house for what? A year and a half? The little house that I had ended up becoming a freaking mutiny with a whole bunch of people in there just doing what they want. and basically kind of ruined it for a whole lot of other people. But at the same time, those people that were in that little house, that was the only thing that they were capable of fucking doing, was what they were doing, because that was their lifestyle. Okay? And none of those houses, nobody went to jail. There was a whole lot of fucking drugs. I told you, that house and that house, they were actually getting along. Nobody was fighting with anybody. 3 different groups in terms of gangs. There was 2 in my house. Everybody was praising each other, how they were all getting along. Honest to God. They're like, I can't believe I'm getting along with so-and-so. And I'm like, why? Why wouldn't you? Oh, well, you know, different, you know, click. And it's just, right? Point is, drugs were already decriminalized. How the hell do you think ShaMay got murdered? Now, mind you, that was a different kind of fentanyl. That was something that was a prescription of some kind, that it was given in, apparently through low doses, as if being monitored in a hospital. So it was something that was put into her cigarettes, because that was the only way to get it into her system at a steady pace in terms of sucking on a cigarette. And then, you know, a little later she'd be like, oh, I'm sick. I wish the fuck I would have smoked those cigarettes. I wish the fuck, you don't know how much I wish I would have said, ShaMay, let me have some cigarettes. I have no smokes today. Let me smoke your smokes. Okay? Because I would have felt what she was feeling, people. Instead of just assuming that maybe she got a cold or something. Okay? That's how insidious fentanyl is. And the cops know it. And that's the thing. They know that people are using fentanyl to murder other people, because the profit behind illegal organ harvesting is humongous. So whatever the government is doing with their budget, the point is they didn't add in no funding. I didn't see anywhere in there where it gave the police more money to do bigger and better investigations and actually put people in jail for funneling and running fentanyl through this province for the purpose to launder money on multiple levels. That in itself, people, makes me want to write another lawsuit in order to keep my one that's there at the freaking Attorney General's desk right at the top of the freaking pile. He'd be going, well, what's that file number again? How many does she have? Like, how many do you have to have before you get the justice, okay? Right? We're on, what, 3 now? 3 file suits? Right? And then, I just popped the bag. Hey, there. The truth's gonna leak out, right? And then, what? I have to write a 4th one? Right? You know? Just to bring to the attention that if you're going to prop up drug addiction and make it easy for people to walk around as if it's nothing, to have fucking fentanyl in their pockets, while fucking little cops, big cops, little cops, any kind of cop just has to tussle and wrestle with some homeless person in the fucking alley and get his own stash for free and never be held to account to what he does with it? Because that's basically what I witnessed that day. He just walked off with it and disappeared. Didn't give her no paperwork, nothing. Just took it. He was by himself, people. How do we know he didn't sell it? How do we know he didn't do it himself? How do we know he didn't give it to somebody else to do something more nefarious with it? The point is, it's too readily available, and the government has made it even more available with less accountability, as they play the same old okie dokie in regards to if somebody ODs on fentanyl, they did it to themselves, they should have known better, they got what they fucking deserved. No, that's not facts. That is spin doctoring to the issues of failed policies that actually put fucking criminals in jail.
if Julian would have gotten charged for selling drugs when he was caught on multiple times, instead of just taking his money and letting him walk, they should have put his ass in jail. Then maybe, just maybe, ShaMay would have fucking left him because she didn't want to be with a jailbird. And she'd be alive today. But no, instead, they glorified it. They let him fucking do what he wanted to do, right? He thought he was good at it. You know, he got cocky with it, and it fucking ended up blowing up in his face. Because the dead bodies started piling up around him, people, and that's the bottom fucking line. And the cops need to look at the government. The government needs to look at that. And they didn't give the government didn't give the cops no fucking money to follow up on that shit. Because they're profiteering off of it. They're making money off of it, people. They're making money off of the dead bodies. You would think the way I'm talking right now, I've been drinking. I'm getting mad. You get my point. How come the cops didn't get any money to lock fucking goons up? If they're so willing to give all these programs to all these addicts that the majority of them just want to be ignorant and rude and fucking pull their mutinies and then cry for help after the fact because they're so poor or whatever, then they should be handing over that same amount of money, $268 million, to clean up the streets of drugs. Killer drugs. Okay? Killer drugs. Fentanyl. Start with fentanyl. And the sister analogs like carfentanil and M13 or whatever the hell, 16 or whatever other freaking analogs that they're manufacturing and pumping out on the streets to bring in those dead bodies. So, if I ever write another lawsuit, I think I would put that in there. Well, the plaintiff, you know, she's noticed that you gave $268 million to prop up drug use, right? But you didn't give $268 million to lock up the fucking pushers and the ones that use fentanyl to murder other people, right? Murder by fentanyl, right? Murder by arsenic, right? Murder by fucking window washer. What is that? Antifreeze, right? Right? If you can murder somebody with antifreeze, you can murder somebody with arsenic, and so on and so on and so on. You sure in the hell can murder somebody with fucking fentanyl, especially when it's in your back alley and a cop wrestles with somebody to get the bag so he can run off with it and disappear into the night. Get rid of those cops. And bring in cops that actually really want to do a fucking service to this community, people. But that's not the agenda. The agenda is to harvest organs. The more pristine, the better the money. ShaMay was pristine. They had Ciera locked up in freaking isolation for months before they released her. 4 days later, she was dead because they were cleaning out her fucking organs before they harvested them. Does the government really want to take it there? I'm trying to put my dead daughters to rest. I'm trying to put Uncle John to rest. But there needs to be some community justice in there. And some restitution to my family so we can put them to sleep. Say, God bless. You know, I lay my head down to sleep. I pray to the Lord my soul to keep. All right. So when I was at Nestor's, look at this bottle. Isn't it beautiful? This is 100%. I want to go back and buy actually a couple more. I should have. I was trying to be frugal yesterday. I didn't want to spend a lot of money, because I always go there and spend like $400. Right? And I bought some electrical cords for the yard. I think I'm going to have to hire a man, though, when the time really comes to hook everything up. And he can have a little, what is that called? Voltage reader, right? To make sure that I'm not running too much voltage through my lines, because I want to put Christmas lights up on the house this year. I already mentioned that. We know I'm putting in the pond, right? I want to have a few pond lights around as well. Plus, I bought an extension cord to try and, as I'm working over the next couple of months, because I'm going to run them through pipes to protect them, right? I'll walk you through these videos, assuming that I'm alive, or wherever I'm going to be, if I'm in this house. And for the Mr. Lace's, a.k.a. cat house, a.k.a. lettuce room, because I want to set up grow lights in there. Right? So I bought the cord, right? So I can start wrapping my head around how to run the cord, so that when I buy the actual grow lights, all I have to do is put up the grow lights and plug them in, and I'm good to go. And I can grow things more than likely over the winter, as long as I'm not sucking up too much wattage between maybe a heater and a grow light. If things came worse to worse. Okay, whatever. So I'm thinking, as that all goes about, at some point I may have to have somebody come in and just double check with their voltage readers, in terms of I'm not sucking up too much juice out of one outlet, because I only have so many outlets, right? And electricity isn't one of my strong points. And I bought a little timer to run the lights, to see if I can learn how to use the timer when I start setting them up around the pond, right? To control that flow of energy through these lines. Okay? So when I went to the grocery store, I didn't want to spend too much money, because I bought a weed whacker, and I had to buy a new cord for just around the yard. I already spent a bit of money, and so I'm like, oh, just be happy with the one. But I like, you see, maple syrup, it never goes bad. It's like honey. You can store it forever, right? It's like sugar, salt, just, And this is a nice bottle, you can see. Very nice. So I got that. That was only $14, people. So I'm thinking to go back just to get a couple more of these. With these workers on my mind, these women that stood up for me. Like I said, I feel like I should be standing up for them and letting the company know that they're mistreating their employees. And as a customer, I don't think it's fair. They're not protecting me by wearing these masks. They are not protecting my grandchildren from wearing these masks, right? I do not feel that, people. I don't feel that, I didn't do a video on it, but I caught another one of those. I caught another one of those pre-recorded live streams in the past being restreamed yesterday, which just reinforces what I've known for a while. But that's not what this video is about. So anyway, cops need money to build in better protocols to control the flood of drugs in our communities. Decriminalizing personal drug possessions is a no fixer to anything, because it's already been happening and it didn't help Ciera. Okay? Right? So, now, I'll finish this. I have a long day ahead of me. It's 10 o'clock. I gotta go outside and start cleaning out the rabbit hutch and cut the grass. I don't know if I'll cut the grass today. Tisha might help cut the grass today, but... So, I'll show you.
Let me get my flashlight. Alright. Now, I'm going to show you, if you don't know already. Do you see that? What that is black walnut, English walnut. Just with their properties, they tend to, they have a mold. Right? Not bad. It's just, that's what it does. Okay? That was the leaf. I put a bay leaf in there, only because it was on the floor. Right? Now, with walnut products like this, you don't have to use, I don't know what the name is called, you don't have to use anything to make the stain stay. Okay? It has already that natural binding property, right? That, you know, as a dye, you don't need to. So, because this is being used outside, if you notice, I can see already that the leaves have basically deteriorated and turned into nothing. Look what I did. Hold on, I don't want to ruin my flashlight. Oh my God, that's an expensive flashlight. I did that once before in the greenhouse. Hold on a minute. Alright. Well, you can see that the particles are in there, right? I think before I would strain this, I'd let this seep for a little while longer. Obviously, it's lighter, right? Whereas if I take this, there is the pulp, right? Now, I'm not going to strain this, because this is going to be a stain for wood, right? Once you stir it in, take a paintbrush to it, go to the wood, chances of seeing anything are nil to none. You can see, you don't really see anything, no real fibers, right? Whereas with the leaf, I can't see. Anyway, on wood outside, it'd be perfect, okay? If anything, the little bit of granular pieces there will just give it more color. Here, you can see the leaf a bit, okay? So, at this point, though, I'm not interested in straining this. Obviously, this is not as dark as this one, right? This is leaf. You can see it's looking more like a brown, where this one's looking more like a black. Okay? And because black walnut, it doesn't matter if it's English walnut, black walnut, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's leaf, whatever. Any part of the walnut, as soon as it comes into contact, sits in water for a while, you're gonna get a surface mold on it. That's just the way it is. So the way people deal with that problem is they either use rubbing alcohol. In this case, I've got 70%, which will be fine. I'm gonna use this. I only brought out this for humor, the vodka, right? I only bought it out for humor, you know. But if you had an open bottle of vodka, you could use a bit of vodka as well to eliminate that mold growth, and then it will sit for years in your jar until you're ready to use it. In addition to, it seems and it appears, the longer you leave it sit, the deeper and darker and better it works and becomes. Okay, that I can attest to. So that's why this stuff that I'm using right now, or making right now, I'm going to use throughout the yard as I'm going around doing whatever I'm doing. I've already got some things figured out where I want to use it. And then when I've got a bit more time, I'm going to cook myself up some more, you know, grab some jars, and I'm going to make 4 or 5 jars, and I'm going to put them away over the winter. And then this way, if I need them next year, just to touch up as wherever I want, just to, like, you know, like highlight. It's like a highlighter, right? For trim or whatever. I have it. So that's the nice thing about black walnut powder. You can do that.
So now it's just a matter of finding time to package up some of this black walnut stuff that I have and, you know, put it online for Andre's walnut art. But the goal right now is to get the yard nice. I just want to finish the yard, people. That's why I went off and bought all these cords. When I get them all, I'll show you. Right? I'm buying all these cords on Amazon, right? I bought a weed whacker, right? The weed whacker was like only $80. The rest of them were basically cords and that little timer, and the bill was like almost $400, right? Because I'm buying outside cords, and they have like these, okay? And I'm like, you know, as I'm doing this and I pay, right? Next thing you know, the hydro in my house goes completely out. Completely out, people. I'm sitting here with no hydro for five minutes. And I'm like, what's that telling me? Well, you know, obviously gang stalking is one of them. Just happened to be convenient that I was buying electrical cords, right? That the power in the house goes out. But it did. It made me think that, you know, maybe when the time comes between front and back, after I get the lights up and, you know, the pond ready to go with the pump, and, you know, I've got a UV thing. Don't forget, I got the little pump in the front, and then I want to run a couple lights just around the pond, you know, just right. And then we're going to have maybe the lettuce room. That's a lot of juice coming out of outlets. So I'm like, okay, well, when that time comes, just, you know, get an electrician to come in with his little voltage meter, and he can help to adjust everything so everything runs smoothly and we don't blow out the neighborhood. Power outage. Right. This is my last chance, people, to do this. You know, I live on a thread. Like, honest to God, I'm Andre, we were out yesterday, and he goes, Nana, how come the landlord didn't put a sign up to sell the house yet? And I'm like, I don't know, Andre. You know, like, Nana's just gonna finish what she started, right? And, you know, it gives me an opportunity to be out in the yard with my family. And the other day I was spraying Amari with water, and, you know, he was in his chair, and, you know, I was watering things because it's been so hot, right? No rain. And then, you know, Andre wanted to be sprayed, and then the spray started hitting Amari's arm, and he was laughing, and next thing you know it, Amari was under the spray, right? Because I'd go, shh, and then he's laughing and giggling, and oh yeah, you know, and today, you know, we'll probably be out there, right? And it's starting to look better and better and better, and I know if I just continue working, by the end of summer, right, it will be, the majority of it will be done, right? I got some glass cutters, right? I'm trying to do a little bit of glass cutting, right? You know, in terms of either use up what I have in my yard or give it away or whatever, right? In terms of by the end of the year, I only need so much glass. So one day I'll be using a glass cutter for different reasons, right? A bottle like this, I cut it like this, Andre's walnut art, throw in a few things inside, and you're good to go. So anyway, that's the end of this video, okay? Sorry about that ranting and raving. I mean, obviously I want to do videos on what I'm really thinking and feeling, but, you know, one, I'm really busy, and there's only so much time, and two, you can only say so much on YouTube, right? And BitChute's good, but I don't want to break up the flow too much, right? In terms of making it harder for people to connect, I guess you could say, with the foundation. Not with me, but with the foundation. Long term, right? Long term. Not so much short term, because everything's so fucked up right now. Everybody's on the attack mode, for the most part, except for those women at Nestor's who stood up for my grandkids and me, right? So I'm going to have to write a letter to their employer and let them know that their customer wants these people
to have more freedom to make their own choice as to whether they want to wear a mask at work or not. Right? Sometimes they say one can make a difference. I don't know if that's true or not. But if you feel like I do, and you're out and about in your local neighborhood, and you're coming across the same things that I'm coming across, then yeah, maybe writing these companies that you come into contact with that are basically abusing their employees, maybe if you just write them a letter to document the concern, I guess you could say. I wouldn't call it a complaint. A complaint they can just throw away. A concern they have to kind of follow up on, right? And if enough people do it, then maybe that will give the businesses, the owners of those businesses, the courages to push back on some of these orders that are being rammed down people's hippocampuses. Okay, I forgot to show you the last end of it. Okay, so we know we're using this. Okay, this is 70%. This is good enough. All I can find right now. It's actually hard to find to buy this stuff. Well, it was when I bought this one. People do need to do a little bit of still prepping people, okay, in light of the sign of the times. So basically, anytime you're dealing with black walnut or that kind of stuff, right? English walnut husks, leaves, bark, if you were making this kind of stuff, right? It's 1 part per 9, so 1 out of 10. So you want 10 quarter cups, but only 9 of them are your solution. The other quarter could be this. So 1 of these to 9 of these of black walnut. That should be enough in terms of ratio, basic science, to prevent that mold from growing, no matter how long that stuff sits in a jar. Okay? So that's basically what I'm going to base this on, right? So I do 9 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at that. 9. And then I've got the sludge, which I can or cannot leave in there. Right? Now another application, actually, you know what? I might just leave this, okay? Because this was supposed to be a light kind of color stain. That's what we would expect from leaves, okay? So maybe I'll just leave it like that. So that's 9 quarter cups to 1 quarter cup. And then you shouldn't see any of that mold growth. This, because of the properties of the walnut trees in themselves, right? They can control to some degree growth, like weed growth, that kind of thing, right? It's because it's a natural disinfectant. So because I've got walkways, right? I've got walkways with cement blocks and bricks and, you know, all pieced in together in between the cracks. Weeds will sometimes grow, right? And you try and dig them out. Sometimes they're hard. So maybe in this situation, I might take this and then just stuff it in between the cracks. And that might help to control those weeds from coming up from the cracks versus, you know, using boiling water or whatever, or trying to dig them out, or, you know, using a pesticide or whatever, right? I'm just saying, I could leave them in here to let it just get richer, which maybe I could.
I don't know. Because it's really not that dark. I don't know how well it will stain. Right? Obviously, the longer you leave it, the richer it gets. It's applicable throughout the whole plant. The point is, in this situation, it's 9 parts to 1 part alcohol. And it's the same for your walnut powder stain. Or your ink. Anything that you're doing when it comes to preserving this stuff. Now, I don't know. That's 2 cups. So, I have to put this stuff in jars now. You get the point. Okay, so I guess I'm not finished yet. So anyway, I had 10 cups of the black walnut powder, right, in terms of liquid. So I put in 1 full cup of this rubbing alcohol. Okay, this is at 70%. It will be fine. And then just a little more, right, because I got that extra cup in there, okay? And even if it molds up a little, people, like, you know, it's been sitting outside for a year in the shed or whatever, you come along, there's a little bit of mold, you can take that off. You're just using it as stain. It doesn't really matter, right? This just helps to control it, and chances are it probably won't grow, right? You know? And then, of course, here we've got a little bit of this pulp left too, right? But, you know, I want it rich. And a lot of this stuff is just going to go on miscellaneous wood outside. So even if these little particles, it's just going to help to, what do you call it? Set the stain a little more, right? And then, of course, you know, at some point I'm going to go behind things, more than likely, depending on where it is. If it's outside, right in the element, definitely try and stain it with a shellac or something. But if it's inside in an area like the hen house where the, you know, the actual hen house itself is, I can take you in there. As a matter of fact, I'll try and do that sometime soon. And I'll show you the stain that's on there, that's been there for like years and years and years and years and years and years. And it has never moved, okay, in terms of color. So, you know, if obviously anything that's in the rain is more susceptible to be washed off. So if you want it to stay a little longer, you can shellac it after the fact. Or you can just go once a year up behind everything and just give it a good swipe with a new batch, right? That's why I want to make a batch for next year. So it sits for that year at least and can, what do you call it? Seep and get richer. Because black walnut does get darker over time. Look it up. Look up Leonardo da Vinci with his walnut art and it will tell you it gets darker over time. That's why you can still see it after 1,000 years. Right? So anyway, I feel very blessed to have this stuff. So then you just stir it around. And I'm just going to put it into my jars. This is one that's been sitting on my porch for a long time. Obviously, I was using it last year on the lettuce room. So now I'm just going to fill it up. Right? And I've got now 2 jars. I should have at least 2 jars anyway for the yard. Which is enough for what I need right now. Oh boy. Went a little past. It's going to leak. That. Now the thing about using vodka for this, it would be very expensive in terms of what you pay for a bottle of vodka compared to what you pay for a bottle of this. So I would highly recommend using this as a stabilizer before I'd run off and use vodka. Unless, of course, you want to use vodka maybe for some ink that you might do for some calligraphy or some drawings or something like that, then yeah, maybe I could see you putting a tablespoon of vodka to 9 tablespoons of ink, right? Then maybe it makes sense. But when you're doing large quantities, no, you just want rubbing alcohol is fine. Now, if over a period of time, if I don't use this and I see that mold growth coming, I would just come along and add in a little more rubbing alcohol. That's all you need, people. The ratio, like I said, is 9 to 1. Right? 9 parts to 1 part. The 1 part being the alcohol. Okay? So we're doing good. See all that powder is settling to the bottom, which I'm going to need another jar because currently I've got, we're on a roll here, people. Right? And then I got enough here for, oh, probably another quart in a bit. So that's good. So I'm going to go get another quart jar, find it somewhere, right? I'm going to try and use these jars versus my canning. Something leaking here. What's leaking? That was weird. Anyway, I'm going to go look for another just whatever. This kind of jar is good. Now, storing it outside long term over the winter, I wouldn't do that. I would make sure it was down to here. So in the event that it freezes, it won't crack your jar. Because I've done this in the past. I had to hold these beautiful big jars, 1.5 liter jars, full of this stuff. Came out the next year into the X Club, and 3 or 4 of them cracked because I filled them up too high. Not all of them, but quite a few of them did. I was choked. Right? So hold on. Alright, so I'm going to finish it on this. So now what I've decided to do, since I'm already here, do you see this little jar? This little jar, I'm going to make it into ink. Okay? Right? For art. Right? Whether it's, in a fountain pen, whether it's putting on a pad for, stamps, that type of thing, that type of ink. Okay? Use a feather. So, we got 2 quarts, we'll say, right? And a bit. Technically, if you were to add that in there, it'd be almost 3 quarts of what you've seen. And I used, 3-4 tablespoons of the black walnut powder. This is what it looks like right now. Okay? After cooking for quite a long time and seeping. Now, I'm not going to be using this for a while. Okay? It's already been pre-mixed, 9 parts to 1 part alcohol. So, just turn this off for a second. I don't have time to start drawing pictures. However, I want this to get real rich. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this, you can see, and I'm just going to mix it in there. And then later on, when I have time and I'm ready to use it, I am going to strain it then. Okay? So that just seeps. And then the rest of this stuff, battery ran out, right? I didn't have it plugged in. I have it plugged in now. So anyway, the rest of this stuff, because this is just for outside anyway, right? It's nothing fancy. It's nothing fancy, okay? But it works. I'm just going to mix it in with these other jars a little bit. Right? Because even if you paint it on and you can see the grit, after it dries, you can always just take a little brush to it and or a rag or something, and just brush it off. But over time, this is going to deteriorate even more, especially if it sits for a couple of years. That's just law of nature, right? So you don't want to waste any of that, really. Okay? And as for the ink, when the time comes, you can strain it. So hold on. Alright, so now this is the end of the video. This isn't just as important as everything else. After it's all said and done, people, you have to label your stuff, otherwise you'll forget. No matter how much you think you got a good memory, you'll find a jar under your kitchen sink, you'll be like, is that black walnut stain? I don't remember. But here we've got the walnut leaf stain. You can see that. Black walnut stain, black walnut stain, black walnut stain, black walnut ink. Okay? I'm rocking. I'm like seriously rocking here, people. Like I am so happy, okay? And I'm going to do this again, and because I do believe over a period of time it just gets richer and richer and richer, because I've seen it for myself. In terms of this, doing it this way with the walnut leaf stain, as a final note, the thing about the black walnut trees is you can use every part of the tree. Every part. Roots, all of it. It has medicinal properties, right? It's also a parasite killer, right? If you had worms or something, you could put a little bit, just sprinkle on top of your food. You could actually eat that, right? In terms of the powder. I have powder in my house that is, I guess you could say, sterilized. In other words, when I made it, I took it from the husk of the walnut that wasn't damaged in any kind of way, and it was green, and it were really nice, right? And then I ground it up, and then I put them off in my bedroom, right, where they're like uncontaminated with, you know, as if you had a whole bucket full and you were just shucking them, right, you know, right? This is the ink one is more for that. But I suppose if we were in a state of being in Venezuela and you had no other way to get rid of parasites, you could use that walnut powder in your food to help you to rid your body of parasites, okay? It's a natural disinfectant externally, right? You can actually brush your teeth with it to combat gingivitis and all this crap, right? I've always said, and I've never done it yet because I don't really look after myself, people. I don't pamper my skin. But you could use it as an exfolia, right? And then your skin would come out so soft. So soft. Oh, it's so soft. Oh, it's amazing. And obviously stains, inks, right? And that kind of stuff. So, that's it. Show you one more time. I'm so happy. Now, oh yes, I was going to say, when I did this, because I have other ones. Hold on, I'm almost done. Right? Before I put things up online, I'm talking. Before I put things up online, in terms of Andre's walnut art, right? I wanted to see how this would work. That's why I'm doing this. Because if it works, and we get a nice color with it, then yeah, I can sell that right along with what I have. I mean, we don't really have access. Well, we do have access to a few walnut trees, but you know, there's only so much time in a day for me, right, people? And I do this more for just, I don't know, fun, educational purposes. You know, maybe one day Andre might have a walnut grove. That would be great. You know, giving people ideas. And I do believe this will work. I don't think it's going to be as dark as this one, but we don't know what's going to happen if each jar sat for a period of a year. Okay, I don't know why this is leaking. That's 2 times. What's going on here?
What's leaking?
Well, obviously this lid is warped. Or maybe this is a jar that's cracked. No.
What you talking about?
Black walnut stain.
Ah.
This is an old lid from a couple of years ago. So maybe it needs...
A new one?
Yeah. That's twice I've had 2 leaky jars.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that lid is very, very old. So that could be it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fast.
Now that it's coming to my attention, I'm just wondering... no, you don't get really gas bubbles going in there. That's just an old lid that's been sitting outside or wherever in this jar for probably 3-4 years. So that's probably why it leaked. Or maybe the rim is no good. Let's see. Anyway, get a Make sure your lids are good. Okay? There we go.
Tell them to make sure they don't have cracked jars too.
Yeah, don't have crack jars. There, look at that. That's primo stuff, people. It costed me only we'll say 4 tablespoons. 4 tablespoons.
Is it black walnut or English?
Black.
Okay.
Pretty cool. And we're making some primo ink yet. This, every now and then you would shake it. Like that primo vanilla extract. Right.
Or it says, can they also add that walnut egg on wood too?
Okay, now you see this jar is leaking too. Now these jars aren't necessarily good. Okay, that's why I like mason jars. Nothing leaking. Okay, the only reason it leaked before was because of the seal. Right, this one's leaking. So over a period of time, it's going to evaporate, which you don't want, right? Why are you going to make something for it to evaporate and disappear? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in a jar like this, okay? Which is a canning jar with the canning lid, okay? If you see, it's not leaking. This one's not leaking, okay? So I put these in here only because I'm going to be using them in the yard over the next 2-3 weeks as I go, right? So I'm going to change this one into a smaller jar. I'm going to leave this one sit for about a month or so. Maybe 2. A month. We'll check it in a month. I'll paint some wood for art, right? To see how dark it is compared to this one. All right? So if you're going to use it up right away within the next month or 2, use these kind of jars just for whatever sake. But if you're going to put it in long-term storage,
Use that kind of jar?
yeah. And if you're putting it outside in a shed or a garage or someplace like that, make sure you leave a headspace in case it freezes, right? It won't crack your jar, right? Otherwise, you'll come back next year and they will all be gone. But I wouldn't necessarily store it in this jar. Unless, of course, it's not leaking. And then this one's not. The other one was. So I guess it depends on how good the lid is, right? All right. Okay, this is the end of the video. It's important that I document this, people. All right, we all know that I have glaucoma, okay? And, you know, I don't get to the doctor very often because, you know, my life is full and I'm busy and have a lot of responsibilities and I put myself basically last, right? I'm the workhorse, I'm the mule, whatever it may be, okay? It's that's just the way it is. So, long story short, okay? And we know that I technically don't have a family doctor anymore, just based on how my family doctor treated me when I went in the last time I went in and then put in those requests for my Ciera's and ShaMay's medical files through that clinic, and he basically told me to take his company to court. So how I can go back to someone like that and try and rebuild the relationship that we had, not that we had a great relationship, because I didn't go to the doctor very often, people. Right? I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have a family doctor. It's going to be extremely hard to find a family doctor. And if I go back to my family doctor, obviously it's going to be in an abusive relationship because he's going to have a bad attitude because, you know, he put me in check by saying take his clinic to court to get the medical records. You know, he's going to feel defensive. He's going to justify his actions, right? You know, I mean, he's in position of authority. I am a nobody, right? And based on what's happened to my daughters, I'm even less than a nobody.
when it comes to people and their opinions, when they seem to think that they're more superior than the ones that they are standing in front of. So besides that point, I take this every now and then. I don't use it regularly, I admit. It's hard sometimes for me because, you know, I get just so distracted with things, and the more I use it, the more my nose runs, right? You know, and fluids fill up in my head as it is, right? But if I use this stuff regularly, not this brand, this is a generic brand. As a matter of fact, this brand, I can barely use this bottle. I can't even squeeze a drop out of this bottle. It's so hard to squeeze a drop into my eyes. I'm not strong enough. I don't know what kind bottle they made, but it's impossible to squeeze. I'm lucky to get a drop in my eyes, okay? Because when I went to get my prescription filled, the original kind of stuff, right, they wanted me to pay, and I'm like, well, no, this stuff has been covered before. Well, not now, because we've got, you know, the generic. You take the generic, and then you don't have to pay. And I'm like, okay, fine. So then I waited, right, for them to get the generic and then give me the generic. Finally, I got the generic. I got 2 bottles, people. That's all I got out of a 12-month prescription. And this is the point. Out of a 12-month prescription, I got 2 bottles, right? Because you're supposed to, they say use a fresh bottle every month. I don't. I use the bottle until it's empty, okay? Then I go on to the next bottle because I don't like to waste things. Hasn't harmed my eyes. It works, whatever. Point is, I got 2 bottles filled with this no-name stuff that I can barely squeeze a drop into my eyes, right? Time goes by, you know, lots of stress, this and that. I'm overworked, whatever. Amari takes up a lot of my time, people. You know, the house, okay, whatever. I was out yesterday with Andre. Like I said, I stopped off into a drugstore and I said, look, I know Safeway is closing down their store. That's where my prescription is for this. I'm a little concerned. I need another, you know, I need another 2 more bottles at least to kind of get me over until I can figure out how to find a family doctor to get a referral to go see the eye doctor, because only the eye doctor can prescribe this. A doctor, a family doctor, any kind of doctor, like in a clinic, cannot prescribe this because this is specifically eye medication, which in this case I can't even use because I can't fucking squeeze the bottle, right? It has to come from the eye specialist, but I can't see the eye specialist because I guess I need a referral every 6 months or once a year from the family doctor. And now I don't have a family doctor. Anyway, I went to go get 2 more bottles thinking my prescription had 12 bottles, even though it was a 1-year prescription. But technically I should get 12 bottles within a year. I only got 2. And the guy turned around and he told me that there is no prescription, that it's gone off to the wayside, and I can't get nothing. And I'm like, well, how can that possibly be? Because it was a 12-bottle prescription. But it was only good for a year, the prescription. And I only got 2 bottles out of 12 bottles. And I can't go to my family doctor and ask for another referral to go see the eye specialist to get another prescription to get 2 more bottles that are, you know, I may or may not use, depending on how I'm feeling, right? I try and use it from time to time, but I don't use it regularly, because the more I use it, the more I run with my nose and, you know, whatever, right? So I basically go day to day, almost every day for years and years and years and years and years with 50 or more PSI in my eyes because of this glaucoma, right? And when I do try to use it, I can't, because I can't squeeze the bottle. I'm not, you know, I don't have vice grips for fingers, right? And then you're thinking you've got 12 bottles, you only got 2. The least they could do is give me 2 more until I can figure out how I can get another family doctor, even though nobody's taking no patients,
And you can barely even get into the clinics. Some clinics you can, some clinics you can't. You have to book an appointment just to see a doctor that will not be able to prescribe this shit. Like, I'm fucking hooped, people. I'm hooped. Like, why do I have to see the eye specialist to give me something that I should already have? In terms of, like, I have 12 more bottles. Seeing her, going to see her, doesn't help me, people. It doesn't change anything, right? It makes it worse. It makes it worse. Since seeing eye doctors, my eyes got worse. One time they put in that freezing agent so much that by the time I left the office, I was spitting out big green gobs of their freezing agent. Two of them, two big gobs like this, coming out of my nose onto the cement before I got to the car, because they were over putting in their freezing agent. The shit glowed in the daylight. It was green. It was disgusting. But, you know, you have a coma, you have to go to the doctor, right? You know? I just wanted to point that out. Right? I don't want to go kiss my doctor's ass. I don't. This is why it's important for the government to step up and do the right thing. Okay, because the gang stalking and the targeting of my persons and my family hasn't stopped. If they don't get you one way, they get you another way. Okay? Seriously. There's no reason why I can't have 2 more bottles of this shit when it was a prescription of 12 months. Alright? But based on their protocols, I guess it's been a year since the last time I got that prescription filled. It doesn't feel like a year, people. Time fly by for me, right? I know I'm always working, right? Doing dishes, cooking, cleaning, whatever. Right? Now I want to finish up with the yard, right? You know, I'm doing paperwork, whatever it may be. It's just... So I just wanted to point that out. You know, lots of people are falling through the cracks within the healthcare system right now. You know, lots. There's lots. I can give you stories, but I'm not going to give you stories. I just want you to know what I'm going through with my story when it comes to this shit. Like, I was so choked. I'm like, well, that's great. I have to go see a doctor, some kind of doctor. It has to be a special kind. Well, it has to be your family doctor. It can't be just a walk-in clinic doctor. I already tried that once before and it didn't fucking work, right? Because my doctor wasn't around. And then I had to wait for my doctor to come. And then I got distracted. And then eventually I showed up. And then eventually he gave me a referral. And then eventually I seen a specialist. And then eventually I got 2 bottles. And then eventually I got busy. And now I got a bottle I can't even fucking use. And I want to get 2 more at least until I can, you know, find a family doctor if I ever can. Or decide to humble myself and go back to my family doctor and apologize for asking for my own daughter's medical records and give him a copy of my lawsuit to let him know that I am fucking serious, that this isn't a joke, and that I don't, you know, I should not be mistreated, especially when he knows that my daughter was dead before she left the house because the medical fucking records say that shit. So I don't know what to do. I still got this bottle, and I've got another bottle yet. Because, again, I use it right to the bitter end. I don't use half a bottle, throw it out, get a new bottle. I'll use the whole bottle until it's done. I don't use it daily, but I might use it for about a week straight just to bring down the pressure, even just for a little bit. And then when I notice my nose really starts to go and shit, right, I just get distracted, and then I don't, right, you know, so, and I've been like this for years, people. Yes, I am going more and more blind, right, you know, it's getting harder for me in certain lightings, to be able to see things. I'm still functional at this point, you know. I think I'm going to make myself a little charcoal eye patch again. I used to have one, I don't know where it is now, and just steam them up and then put them on, because charcoal is a natural absorbent, right? And it will help to maybe absorb some of this fluid that collects in regards to glaucoma, that puts so much pressure, because I have dark spots in my eyes, right? But I will still use a skill saw. And I'll cut my angles. and I'll get better at it. It's like riding a bike. You never forget.
Okay, so speaking of short-term memory here, I don't know what my last little clip was, but I said it was going to be the end of the video, but I changed my mind because I'm out here in the back now. There's another warrior tree coming up. Do you see it? Right there. It's in the ground. I can always tell. They just ping. So I have to dig it out, right? And I got to move out all these because my son's going to come and just clip some of this back a bit because he has the right tool for it, right? Because he's a tree cutter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out in here. I'm just going to start moving all this. You can see I put some over there for now. And I'm going to line them up in here. And then I'm going to leave these bricks here. I'm still gathering red bricks around the yard. And I'm going to start working on the little rocket stove. Right, that's what that will be called. That one's a rocket stove. And then we're going to be working on a solar oven as well. A couple of them actually. But for now, I got to start seedlings, which I haven't done. But I'm working on it. I'm going to start some new shoots of weeping willow. I really do love the weeping willow trees. So I'll probably get another 5 or 6 more by July. Right? And then around July or so, depending, right, how much roots they have. Then you put them in water, right? I mean, in dirt, right? Right now they have to, and they like it under shade, right? So anyway, okay. So I'm going to clear out all this. I'm going to start moving all these so my son can cut, and then I'll move them back. But anytime you have a tree and a planter pot, it's best to put it on a brick, something that it can't bust into the ground, right? And especially if it's got a really aggressive root system like a walnut, right? They don't like being in planter pots, but they will live in them. This year, I do plan on trying to sell a few, but I don't want to sell a few of these trees until the yard's a little more tidied, right? And it's, you know, hopefully this will get done within the week or so. And then I'm just going to get honky-dory, and I've got a plexiglass for the whole side. So before I get too deep into this game out here in the back, I'm going to take all this is old, right? Remember I said that in the fall? And I'm going to take this glass, which goes all the way from the top, all the way down to the bottom. And it's plexiglass, so that's good. And I'm going to piece it right up in here. So that's one of the major projects that I've got to do. And then after I do a few other things, hopefully by summer, I'll be in here turning it into a hen house. But that's last, right? I'm going to do this other stuff. I'm going to finish the lettuce room first. I got a 100-foot cord that has 3 prongs to it. So I'm going to run it somehow, some way, pipe it. You'll see how I'm going to do it. So it goes into this so that I can plug it in from inside the house. And I can run my grow lights. And I can either transport plants that are still growing, like last year with the tomato plants. If I would have taken the buckets and simply moved them into something warm with a few grow lights, those things would have grown for another month or 2, like seriously. So that's my end goal, is to have this finished with the vinyl siding on it, right? Get that plexiglass up in there. I would really love to have a little sunroof. We'll see how much time I have. Right, and you know, just do a few, like last year I did that. Now that black walnut stain, instead of painting this time, people, I'm telling you, I'm going to just use black walnut stain. You'll see how nice it's going to look. It's going to look really, really nice. Okay, like really nice. Oh yes, I broke down, but then I like to support my corner store. I've always said that through my videos. Go out and support your local businesses in your neighborhood. These people, they happen to be South Korean, and they're really, really nice. I'm always spending a little extra money. That's the very big spender, right? Anyway, just to get me jump-started in here, right? Because I'm kind of tired, right? You know, people? But besides that point, I bought a little mint tree. For some reason, it got really, really dry in here, and the ones I had died. So that's fine. Whatever. Put new ones in there. It's nice. This will flower soon. And then we've got, what is that? Some kind of pepper. I think that's a hot chili pepper. And then I bought his little tomato plants that he had. And I can see they've already taken root because they've grown in a day since. I put these things in here yesterday or the day before. And I can tell that they've already grown. Here's another little, this one's a hot pepper. Hold on a minute. These ones are yellow and bell peppers. Two different kinds of tomatoes. More pepper, more pepper. So now I got to start some seeds and just get up on it. So we got a few plants in here growing, and then, you know, because I always seem to start my seeds late, right? You know, there's going to be tomato plants in here growing come fall that aren't ready to die yet and are still producing tomatoes. Went through that last year, right? And I can just simply move them into there if I want. Same thing with the pepper plants, right? And then I'm going to just I'm making tomatoes. I'm just canning tomatoes. Those canned tomatoes that I used that were like long time ago, and even though there was oxidation underneath the lid, right? Oh, that chili is so good, people. It's kind of economical to be canning your home-owned tomatoes. They just last longer versus being in a can in long-term food storage, right? And you know, you can do the same. You can make a salsa with the peppers. So to me, it makes sense, right? So if that's what I kind of have planned, I'm going to try and plant a few more tomatoes next door. I'll have a few plants out in the yard, right? But I really want a bounty crop to some degree in tomatoes ripened on the vine, so I can do canned tomatoes. If I do beans, which I will be doing beans, I won't be canning them this year because I don't need them, people. I have. But I would definitely dry them and then put them in jars and store them that way, right? So, oh yes, and the other thing I'm going to really work on this year is my water drums. I've got several water drums on the property here. And I already talked to my son about it. I told him, you know, in the event of an emergency, you never know, right? I'm gonna fix up my water drums and fill them up with water, and they're just a reservoir in case something happens and we need water. Plus, I've got 5 liter jugs like that. About 6 of them going to be in my potato shed, and then I've got, I don't know, 3 liter jugs, a couple of them in there as well. So between the water jugs, and I'm filling up 1 liter pop bottle jugs too, right? Those 1 liter pop bottle jugs, they store really well. You can put them in off to the side somewhere. Just make sure you leave a bit of room so if it's cold, it freezes, it won't crack the container. And it will sit for years, people. I already know. I've done it. And in that situation, all you would do, if for some reason you needed the water, you just open up your jug and boil it. Right? Or you could get like a purifying tablet. Okay? Because the water is clean. It's just been sitting there for 5 years in a water jug. And you'd have something to at least wash your hands. And if you boil it enough, right, you could drink it, right? Or put the chlorine tablets in it. Boil it, and then if you wanted to, you could put a little chlorine, and it would be perfectly fine. So water jugs like that, my 50-gallon barrels, I've got a few of them. So I'm really focusing on getting them set up this year too, right? And fill them up and have them on hand. So now I'm in the back. And it's not so bad. I like it. Like it's going to be really nice, people, when it's done. It's going to be really, really nice. So, here's the hen house. Can you see? Look. If it rains without it being finished, okay, maybe it wears off a bit. But outside of that, I'm telling you, people, it holds its color, right? Like it really, really does. Go inside it, it's the same thing. Okay? Look what I found from last year. Potatoes. They're right here. I wonder if they're still good. What do you think? Here, I poked this one. Oops, sorry, wandering. I poked this one with the pitchfork. Let's cut it. Look at that, people. Look at that. Perfectly good potatoes. I got potatoes, though, in my little, what is it? cold room that's growing roots, so I'm just going to pop them in here. When I do the hen house, if and when, which I'd like to have done by the end of the year, this is all going to be fenced off, and this is going to be for the hens, right? The only problem with that, though, is stupid things crawling up from underneath, right? But anyway, not too worried about it right now. Okay, this long video, right? A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Do you see that plexiglass? There's 3 sheets there. Anyway, I'm going to dismantle them. And I'm going to use 1 to 2 up there. I'm going to make little sunroofs. 1 on this side and 1 on that side. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I just have to figure out how to do it, people. I don't know about cutting these branches too much. I just remembered, and plus the little hummingbirds were in there singing away. I think they have babies maybe in this tree. So if anything gets cut, it's just the outside branches, right? Because I would suspect their nest would probably be further on the inside, right? So it may be just, if anything, a small trim until fall when there's no babies. I don't want to. I have a lot of hummingbirds in my yard, people. I get a lot of flowers and stuff, right? So, plus I feed them. So anyway, there. That's going to be my roof up there. This is going to be so nice when it's done. Remember Mr. Lace's pen? Boy, Mr. Lace's pen. And then the hens moved in. There was, what, like 7 of them, right? Yeah. And then it was Mr. Lace's cat house. Right? There was a skunk in there one time. And then you've seen me last year just kind of remake the whole thing. This thing has been standing here since 2011. And it started off with just a bunch of pallets. Like, seriously. So, yeah, I'm going to end it here. It's starting to rain now. So, I guess I won't be... I got all my planter pots ready. Can you see? Oh, a fair amount of them. Right? There's enough to get for beans and, you know... stuff like that. So anyway, this corner here, you're going to see what I'm going to do with it. Because we know we're going to put that plexiglass there. I'm sorry, tempered glass. That big long one there. We're going to do the roof. So I would do the roof first before I do the wall. Because I have to climb up there. Right? And I'd probably have to use my jigsaw. And I might need 1 more sheet of plywood. Right, to put, because that side is not very stable. This one's not so bad, but that side not, no, right? And then I'm going to clear out all of this at some point, right? Because I need to get up in here. And then in here was a little roosting nest that I made for Mr. Lace, but he never did use it. So I'm going to open it up from this side. Because I've got a dog house in here full of wood, so it stays dry, right? See? All nice and dry. But this right here, that in there, I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to move this over here. And I'm going to get rid of all this stuff, right? I'm going to use up what I need to use for the most part. And then, you know, what I'm saying, I'm going to clear this all out and make it like a little, I have a little play thing. Like a children's, you know, those Fisher-Price little jungle gyms, right? I have a couple of them around, so I'm going to bring something in here, and maybe we'll do a little swing, a little tire swing. I don't know. Those branches, they're not very big. But anyway, just remember this corner. That's all I'm saying. You're going to start seeing it change. And when this is all done, boy, it's going to look really nice. And I'll put grow lights in there.